Welcome to the Spiritually Empowered Podcast, your virtual sanctuary for soul growth, spiritual healing, divine purpose, and conscious manifestation. Together, we'll explore mysticism and magic, Buddhist and yogic teachings for inner liberation, shamanic energy medicine, psychic development, and tools to wield your power and protect your energy during this time of global awakening. I'm Ashley Coleman, ordained shamanic minister, advanced energy medicine practitioner, spiritual teacher, and devoted student of life's deepest mysteries. I'm here to help you alchemize ancient soul wounds, reclaim your power, and rise into your sacred calling to bring healing to this world in a way that only you can. I'm so honored to be here with you. Let's dive in. Hello, my love, and welcome to the Spiritually Empowered Podcast. I am your host, Ashley Coleman. Thank you for pressing play today. How about we share a deep breath or two? Just slowing things down, joining me here. Maybe you have a tea, maybe you have coffee, or you're driving and listening to this in transit, wherever you are. Just invitation to open your senses, to breathe, and to become more present with where your feet are. And we do that with the breath, with increasing the amount of oxygen in our bodies and exhaling to the bottom of our lungs. Thank you for joining me in that. So today I have a story I want to share with you. And this is a little bit out of my comfort zone because as a spiritual guide, a spiritual teacher, an ordained minister, I am very used to teaching. I'm very used to philosophizing. I'm very used to studying and sharing wisdom from different traditions, especially the Eastern traditions of Buddhism, Hinduism, Taoism, all of those things. And today, my intention is to bring you into a story of my upbringing, of a really, really horrific experience that I experienced not only once, but every single night for a really long time, close to a decade. The core trauma in my life has been spiritual trauma. And I have a beautiful family. My parents are still together. They love me unconditionally. They support me as much as they can in all my taboo and unique things that I do in the world. And I didn't come from abuse. I didn't come from a split home. So my story is filled with a safe and blessed home. And I came to find out in this lifetime that because you have food on the table, because your parents aren't arguing, because life is good, that doesn't mean you don't suffer. And I felt guilt for that. I felt guilt for depression and sadness because I looked around and I saw peace. No family is perfect, but I couldn't understand why I was suffering so much. And so I just felt like I was bad because as children, we create meaning. And so that's my upbringing, a sweet home, loving parents. I have a sister who's 3 years older than me. And I want to go into what my spiritual trauma was. I don't have memories in the crib, but I had a psychic share with me that there was a being in my house until I was 7. And I didn't know that. I didn't have anybody confirm that for me. It was really just my own reality. So I'll share into my own reality of that. Later, though, many years after this, I found out through a psychic, and this information rang true to me and it clicked for me and it felt true because psychics say a lot of things, right? But this really spoke to me. She confirmed that something was there until I was 7. So The earliest memories I have came from after the crib. And she said that whatever was in your house used to bite your toes and pull your hair in the crib. And then when I got out of the crib, I remember running to my parents' room every single night. And I also remember watching The Ring at a young age, maybe 8 or something like that, whenever it came out. So we watched The Ring, and horror movies are often gateways for demonic spirits. Horror movies, violence, and The Ring, if you're familiar, right? Deep, intense paranormal horror movies are very often doorways through which demonic spirits, negative spirits enter and can fuck with you. And they do. This is not, from my experience and the hundreds of clients that I've served, this is not, I'm coming to realize more and more, super uncommon, especially for that person in the house that's very, very sensitive, feels deeply, and sees what other people aren't seeing, feels what other people aren't feeling. So that was me, the younger sister, emotionally connected to big feelings. And my mom used to say, "Why are you crying, Ash?" And nothing would be wrong on the outside, but maybe I was feeling the suffering on the planet. Maybe I was feeling the shamanic prophecy that I wouldn't learn until 20 years later around these times are prophesized to be times of upheaval and darkness where all the things that are unbalanced, imbalanced on the planet are coming up to be seen. So often children are tapped in to the subtle realms. And if one person on the planet is suffering, then maybe the child feels that, right? So that was my experience with being a sensitive child. So I remember watching The Ring, and essentially every time I would go to bed and the lights would go out and the sun would go down, I'd be in my room and I would be incredibly disturbed. I would be laying in my bed, and this is a little challenging to share. I'd be laying in my bed and I would hear in my head, "We're coming to get you. There's a demon in your room." And this happened like clockwork. My body would freeze. I would freeze. And then at one point, a couple moments later, I would run to my parents' room and beg for them to let me sleep in their room. This went on every single night. Every time the sun went down, it was a nightmare for me. And my sister would be sleeping. My grandma lived with us, and it's like everybody was just fucking fine. It was just me. And so I felt demonic. I felt like I was bad. There was no yelling. There was no fighting. The doors were locked. Everybody was at peace, right? But here I am, hearing in my head, "We're coming to get you. We're coming to get you. There's a demon in your room." And so every night I would run to my parents' room. "Please, please, I'm scared. Let me sleep in your room." And they built me a bed in their room. And that was hard on them, right? Because time went by and time went by and time went by. And they were like, "Ashley, you can't sleep in here anymore." And I was like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna die." Like I just felt that was it because I wanted proximity with them. And I'll share with you one night in particular that was one of the longest nights of my life. There's one other long night I can think of, which is a whole nother story. And I heard those thoughts and I froze and I ran down the hallway and I sat up against my mom's side of the bed all night long. I sat straight up all night long, looking at her digital clock on the side table and looking down the hallway over and over and over again all night, making sure there wasn't an entity running towards me. And you would think, your parents would say, "Wow, like, what are you experiencing? And what is this?" And I went to a therapist, and They just told me to make a scrapbook and listen to jazz music. I mean, it was nothing that I needed. Nobody understood. No one understood me. And so not only was I suffering, but I was suffering alone. I was in a house full of people, in a safe house, and I was feeling absolutely attacked. And that really made me feel messed up inside because I was the only one experiencing this. Literally nobody else I knew of ever, except for those haunted shows I started to watch, which I'll get into. Nobody had this experience. And when I tell you, every single time that I knew of, every time the sun started to come up, I would immediately, the first peak of sunlight, everything would go away. And I would feel absolute relief and go right to sleep because I had probably been up all night. So it was connected to nighttime, which is the time of the feminine, which is the time when the veils are the thinnest, which is the time when our powers, our mystical powers are strongest. I had a friend channel, which means tap into a thought stream, a wisdom stream. And she said, Ashley, when you feel the most vulnerable, you're the most powerful. And that healed me to such a big degree. And at the same time, as I got older and was still experiencing these attacks, and I also knew somehow to cover the mirror. And I don't know if I saw that in a scary movie, maybe I did, but how mirrors are portals, and they can be. I still cover my mirror now as a 31-year-old living with my partner. I still cover the mirror because mirrors can also be gateways. Yes, you can seal them, clear them, all that good stuff. But yeah, I still do that. And I knew as a child intuitively that they were gateways. And so I always covered my mirror. And as I started to get older, still having these nightly attacks, which made it really hard to go to school because I didn't sleep very much. I would feel restful right when the sun came up, and then I would sleep. I started to feel drawn to paranormal shows. It was like that reality wanted me. So I felt this incredible attraction. I remember being sick and staying home from school, which I did constantly, stayed home from school. My mom wrote so many notes, bless her heart, so many notes. Ashley's not feeling good. Ashley's not feeling. And I would stay home and watch paranormal shows and eat buttered toast with jelly and just feel safe while the sun was out at home, being nourished and nurtured. And I definitely played that card, played sick, so I could not force myself into the school system, which is enslavement in many ways. Anyways, and so I would watch these paranormal shows, and I loved the demonic episodes where their eyes would turn white. It's like I was drawn to the very thing that was affecting me. And then the sun would go down, and then I would say, oh my gosh, why did I watch that? Why did I watch that? That was horrible. I would regret my decision to indulge in those shows. So while the sun was out, I was so drawn. Even when I was like 12 or 13, or I don't know how old, I think around that age, I would, when the internet came out, I would research the Church of Satan. I know. And I would like look up the application. And then I would go into these subliminal messages, and Led Zeppelin played backwards, and how all these conspiracies and these TV shows. I mean, I just needed to know. I knew that stuff was going on beyond what the normal people were seeing. And I was absolutely obsessed with fucking around and finding out and pulling down every veil. What is going on this planet? I want to know what the dark magicians are doing. I want to know about the sacrifices that happen in Hollywood. I want to know about the underground tunnels where the kids are being dragged through and abused. I want to know. So my need, it's not a desire, it's stronger than that. It's a need for truth. I cannot collude with closing your eyes and saying, I don't want to see. I don't want to see because it's going to make me uncomfortable. I don't want to see because it's going to hurt. I don't give a damn. And I never did. To my fault, right? I went probably too far, but no regrets. That was part of my journey. And now I know that all of that was, I've turned into my shamanic training. Now I've taken professional training in exorcising entities and dealing with demons and helping souls cross over and clearing homes. I've had professional training and experience helping many, many, many clients clear entities from their homes and from their bodies. So I believe that your pain is your purpose. Your pain is your purpose if you turn it into that, right? It's not automatically your purpose. You have to walk through mud. You have to sit in it and alchemize it and help people from your experience, right? But first, you got to get out of it yourself. And that was where I was in. I was in deep. And then I went into using pot for many years and going into love relationships that were toxic and just really experiencing the hell realms on planet Earth. Addiction, codependency, toxic relationships. I mean, I really was like, let's fucking go. I actually remember being in high school, being in detention, and I had a friend who I love her so much. We're still like besties. Um, I had a friend who had a partner and they would smoke together all the time. And I just thought it was so cool. And I was in high school detention and I was like, I want to manifest a partner I can get high with. I wanted that. I genuinely wanted that experience. And I got exactly that. It was a 4-year relationship, really fun at first, really toxic. And after leaving that relationship and making a commitment to myself that I'll never self-abandon again, it was more than a commitment, it was a vow that I'll never abandon myself again. That relationship, I turned it into beauty. I turned shit into beauty, just like the lotus flower, right? It blooms from the deepest, stinkiest, yuckiest mud. And I asked myself, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? There's no reason I'm struggling so much. It became this guilt, shame thing of like, I can't point to a reason in my family or any type of abuse or any infidelity in the family. I couldn't point to that. And so that's a big part of my story is permission to struggle. Just because you have money and a great family doesn't mean you don't fucking struggle, doesn't mean your soul didn't sign up for lessons. So I've released and am releasing the guilt on top of my experience that was layered over top. And so it's so fascinating how I was drawn to study those topics from a very young age. And the spiritual attacks started to fade as I got older and into high school. And then I really struggled with mental health. It took a different form, right? The attacks came from it just kind of merged with me. And I started to really struggle on the inside with mental health and then substance abuse and then toxic relationship. And then years later, I was still in this toxic relationship, the 4-year one. Years later, I was a nanny. I was still in my active addiction, and I was a nanny for a well-known psychic who was what do they call it? A psychic who helped solve criminal cases. And I was sitting with her and her baby was sleeping, and I told her, I said, yeah, I had a lot of spiritual attacks growing up. And she said, oh, let me ask my angels. And she turns her head to the right. This woman's tapped in. And she said, oh my gosh, Ashley, I'm seeing there was something in your house until the age of 7. She said, did your mom do anything at the age of 7 to clear out the house or hire a priest or something? And I said, I can't remember any of that. And I even asked my family and they couldn't remember anything. But she said at 7, it left. But of course, the fear didn't leave me. The fear didn't leave me, right? And that was the first time that somebody saw me. I thought I was fucking nuts. I knew deep down that something that was real, but nobody validated it. Nobody saw the truth in it really until this woman. And I looked in the mirror after having that conversation with her and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm not crazy." And I called my parents and I said, "There was something in my room. I'm not crazy." And my mom raised Southern Baptist. She doesn't want to go there. They really didn't receive that because sometimes your blood family is not your soul family. And I love my family so much. And I've come to realize that it's okay if they never understand me. It's okay if they don't understand my work. It's okay if they don't understand how I shake my rattle and commune with ancestors or bring down heavenly energies or pray to plant spirits and speak to the trees. It's all right. And that's newer for me. I used to really want them to understand me because I confused understanding with love. And you can love without understanding. You can be close with your family without understanding them. So finding this psychic was the first time I ever felt like somebody saw me. And it was a rule in her household to not watch scary movies. And she said to me one time, she saw a little 4 foot tall spirit demon thing running around her house. And she asked her husband, she said, "Did you watch a scary movie?" And he said, "Yes." And she goes, "Well, you opened a portal." Like this stuff is real. And every disease has a spiritual root cause. And yes, addiction is correlated with entities. Alcohol is called spirits. There's a spirit of alcohol, and it has this particular name too. So not only is there a spirit of alcohol that gets conjured when someone partakes, potentially, but you could be inviting in other beings to enter your world, right? It's like doing ayahuasca. It's become very popular to sit with these plant medicines. But what people might not realize is that you are opening doors to other dimensions when you partake in mind altering substances. I will wave my sober flag for the rest of my life. To each their own. There's no judgment here, but this is an important conversation. Substances that alter you could open you and often do, especially the sensitive souls, right? Can open you to be taken over. It's like parasites in your gut. If you have, and we have good bugs and bad bugs, but parasites in your gut, the bad kind, the negative kind, they control your cravings. They control your emotions. They dictate what you want to eat. And we actually get addicted to our emotions, right? We get into these habits and these fixated ways of being, and your gut is a home for bugs. And once you clear your parasites out, you feel differently, you think differently, you have different desires. Same with entities. So, side note, I have a free training on this. It's not hard. I have a free energetic mastery bundle on this. I know the importance of this, and I created this for you for free. It's a morning radiance meditation where we clear your energy, protect it, and seal your field for the day. It's a command PDF. So, a command, for example, is I revoke all negative energies completely and fully from my body, mind, and soul today. So, it's revocation spells and affirmations that really pack a punch, not the fluffy ones. I am beautiful, but I revoke negative energies in the name of God. Can you feel a power in this? Revocations. Jesus Christ said, "Do as I do." You can do everything I can do and more through God, through the God of your own understanding, through that one God, however you call it, label it, whatever. This is an interfaith room reminder where I weave different traditions. And Jesus Christ said, do as I do. You can revoke negative entities. And this is a practice, and you can train to do this. And the first step for some of you might be, you're not fucking crazy. Yes, it's real. Yes, those spooks in the night, or when your body freezes, or when you have that dream, there could be interference. There can be interference, especially when you're about to take a risk, when you're about to make a change, when you're about to step into the unknown, when you're about to use what you have to serve at a greater level. Interference can happen there as well, because potentially these negative energies want to keep you in the cycles of enslavement. They want to keep you giving their power away, giving your power away. My shamanic teacher, Alberto Villoldo, says, anything that hides in the dark has no power of its own. Really take that in. Anything that hides in the dark has no power of its own. These negative entities are a mirage. They're a false thing. It's a fabrication. It's a mirage in the desert. The only power they have is the power you give them. And the greatest psychic protection you can have is to heal your own insecurities. Because insecurities and wounds, if they haven't been integrated, right? We all have these, and, it's not about reaching perfection, but about self-healing, to recover your soul, to become whole again, to realize your wholeness. The affinities or the insecurities, says shamanism in my training, they act as a magnet to create these codependent connections with entities, right? And it's a way that we give our power away, a way that we stay small. So the first step, again, for some of you, is to understand you're not crazy. And I'm not crazy. That was such a huge part of my healing, when somebody saw me. When somebody says, yeah, what you saw, what you felt, that was real. That just changed my life. And maybe this is that for some of you out there. And the second step is to protect your energy, is to seal your field. We are at a time of breakdown and breakthrough on this planet. My teacher, Alberto Villoldo, says the gates of heaven are open and the gates of hell are open, and you are a light. And what happens in the dark when there's a light outside? Bugs flock to it. So the greater your power and the greater your purpose, the greater the need to secure your temple, your body, and your home. And I will get you started right away with that. I'll drop the link in the show notes, and you will have that bundle. You can download it. You can listen to it. I've got amazing feedback on that, where people feel more energized. They feel more clear-headed. They feel more directed and on purpose in their life, more confident. And if I were to say something to my inner child right now, it would be, in a few years, you will remember and become awake to what you're experiencing right now, and you will help hundreds of people with this experience. You will help them, and you're not crazy, and I am with you forever. And I'm so proud of you for enduring that. That was so hard, and I acknowledge that. I acknowledge those nights, and I acknowledge your attraction to those realms, and that's not wrong. You were drawn to those realms to learn and to be shamanically initiated into your calling as a healer, as somebody who serves the balance, the return to harmony on this planet. And you will go on to empower so many people and keep them from having to experience what you experienced. And I love you, and I'm proud of you. And that's my story. And there's so much more, and I'm excited to share more with you, but I will leave that there. And I would love to hear if you have any feedback, comments, if you want to rate the show. I would be so grateful for that. It helps me reach more people. If you had a similar experience or are having a similar experience, let me know. I would love to hear from you. Send me a DM on Instagram and definitely go get that free energy mastery bundle. Secure your field. Remember, the gates of heaven are open, and we are here as mystics and seers and empaths to be a bridge between the old world and the new world. You have that power and you have these gifts. It's time to own them and train them. I love you. Thank you for being here, and I will share with you. I will speak to you in the next episode. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you loved this episode, share it with somebody who you really feel would benefit from this message. I'm sending you lots of love, and I'll see you in the next episode.